Welcome on this sixth Sunday in Ordinary Time. This Sunday the Church gives us a reading from Leviticus, the book which is very concerned about the state of lepers, people suffering from the skin diseases. Yet sometimes we might forget that the lepers live very much next to us as well. Leprosy can also touch our own hearts. If you want to know more about this issue, please stay till the end of this video. The sixth Sunday in Ordinary Time in the Church gives us very profound and mysterious readings this very day. We hear the reading from Leviticus chapter 13, which lies in front of our eyes, very serious sickness, followed by, from our perspective in the 21st century, probably a very harsh treatment. We hear today in the reading about a possibility, a case of leprosy in the community. And for a person like that, for a man like that, the Bible says today, if he is unclean, the priest must declare him unclean. He is suffering from leprosy of the head, and he has to wear clothing torn, his hair disordered. He must shield his upper lip. He must cry, unclean, unclean, and he must live apart until he will get cured. Well, probably we wonder this Sunday, why does the Bible say so? And more importantly, why God says so through the Bible? It seems as this harsh treatment, separation, is so unhuman. What to say about God ordering to do so? But the truth is that the book of Leviticus, and especially those chapters, treat and speak about the possibility of plentiful of diseases and how to deal with them. Back the times when people didn't have any cure against serious diseases of the skin and body, that was the only way how to save and keep secure the rest of the community from terrible casting out. And yet, the book of Leviticus, even though it strikes us how harsh it is, it also offers the way of healing for a person with a disease. And in the next chapter, which we don't hear this Sunday, chapter 14, God provides a great right of recommitment to the community, to the faith, indeed to the health. Leviticus chapter 14 says that a person who will be cured from that sort of a disease is to come to the Jerusalem temple and make the offering as a sign to the priest, to the community, and to God himself. Sadly though, that attitude of separation along the ages arose to such a gigantic measure that in Jesus' time, just a couple of centuries later, it indeed is the group of people suffering from leprosy in this situation, in this instance, who are totally socially excluded. They are totally dependent on the goodwill of people living around them. Sadly, we could use a word which we know nowadays, they became people suffering from leprosy, pariahs of their society. That's why, indeed, it's so shocking, so tremendously shocking what the Lord, what Jesus does in the Gospel, which we hear today, the Gospel of Mark chapter 1 again. We hear that also a leper came to Jesus and pleaded on his knees, first probably crying from a distance because he was afraid to get any closer to the crowd of people. And he was saying and screaming, if you want to, you can cure me. We hear then in the Gospel that Jesus, the Lord, feeling sorry for him, he stretched out his hand and he touched him. Jesus said, "Of course I want to be cured." Something unthinkable of had happened in that very scene. Jesus felt sorry and he touched an unclean person, a man suffering from disease of leprosy. He not only felt sorry, but he showed in a very physical way through the contact how close he is to his terrible circumstances. We hear in the Gospels oftentimes that Jesus is indeed feeling sorry for the people, suffering and being lonely. We hear so many times in the Gospel of Matthew of Jesus feeling sorry over the crowds, for example, not having anything to eat. We hear in the Gospel of Matthew again that Jesus feels sorry for the blind man searching for help. What to say about Jesus feeling sorry for the woman who just lost her only child in Luke chapter 7? What to say finally about those parables when Jesus really compares God and eventually himself to the Samaritan man helping out the person in need? What to say about Jesus feeling sorry in this beautiful picture of the good and forgiving father in the parable of the prodigal son? And we could find so many other examples of Jesus being close and feeling sorry, indeed stretching out his hand to touch and to cure. And that's what afterwards he says, "Just go, show yourself to the priest in the temple and make the offering for your healing." Jesus asks the leper who just had been cured to make that very offering, that very proof of healing about which we hear or about to hear in the book of Leviticus, chapter 14. So tremendous is this link between how God wanted to look after his people and yet how it all had been twisted because of people wrongdoing. And in that context, my dear friends, a very particular thought comes this Sunday to my mind. Well, firstly, because we oftentimes nowadays make the great emphasis of being sensitive and sensible about taking care of the creation, about our planet suffering from many diseases. And all of that is right. All of this is true. We need to be responsible, courageous, and making people aware of what sort of destructive attitudes and behaviors they bring to this created world God gave us as an inheritance. And yet, I have to admit that so often in my human life, but also priestly life, I face so many people living in a total abandonment just near me, nearby, in the parishes I work in, totally dependent, just doing things by themselves. So many sick people whom I visit on First Fridays with the Holy Communion, with small visits, they are so often forgotten, left behind, not visited anymore, living in sometimes strange conditions. And we often live next to those people. I think that oftentimes these are the very modern lepers, searching and begging for help. And even though our society is so full of high and big words about loving and caring, sometimes we ourselves forget that really next to us are those the most excluded, forgotten, really modern pariahs of the society, whom no one or not many think about anymore. And if we do forget about this, all of the rest is not really important. The call of God to fulfill the commitment of our baptism, the commandment of God to love God and the neighbor, does require from us to be like the Lord, like Jesus, who stretched out his hand, touched the leper, and said, "Be cured." It's so much depending on us. People waiting and depending on our help. I pray therefore this Sunday that the Spirit of God can touch our own hearts, that with sincerity and honesty we can find the ways how to reach out to the people living very close to us. God bless you and have a blessed Sunday. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my Sunday sermon, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to share it with others. God bless you.